Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. Today is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. And we begin with a question. Who runs the best American classrooms? Your school and your teacher are definitely amazing. But when it comes to the best school system, that honor appears to go to the Department of Defense. On the National Assessment of Educational Progress, a federal exam, which is the gold standard for comparing states and large districts, schools run by the Defense Department outscored every jurisdiction in math and reading last year. The New York Times reports these schools even managed to avoid widespread pandemic losses seen by many others. There are about 50 Defense Department schools on military bases in the U.S. and 100 overseas. As for why these institutions are so successful, defense officials tell the paper, it helps that they're well-funded, have a diverse student body, and there's a stable long-term plan for academic programs. Netflix is on quite the trajectory, going from DVDs to streaming, and now, it seems, to brick and mortar. A Bloomberg report says the company plans to open physical Netflix houses that will feature themed clothing and food, along with live entertainment based on some of its most popular shows and movies. The company's vice president of consumer products told the news outlet, "We've seen how fans love to immerse themselves in the world of our shows, and we've been thinking a lot about how we take that to the next level." Netflix didn't announce where these stores would be located or which shows would be featured, but it did say its goal is to open 2 locations in 2025, with more to come at a later date. President Biden is heading to the Middle East. Secretary of State Antony Blinken confirms the president plans to visit Israel tomorrow in what the New York Times called a high-stakes trip during a tense time in the region. Mr. Blinken made the announcement after a 7.5-hour meeting at a military base in Tel Aviv with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his cabinet. A senior State Department official also confirmed that U.S. and Israeli officials have agreed to work on a plan to get humanitarian aid to Palestinian citizens in the narrow strip of land called Gaza, which is controlled by the terrorist group Hamas. Is today the day the House of Representatives finally gets a new speaker? A vote is scheduled to take place today to find a replacement for Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted by his own party 2 weeks ago. The Republicans, who hold a slim majority, had selected Congressman Steve Scalise to lead them, but he dropped out when he couldn't secure the 217 votes needed to win the job. Then Jim Jordan was nominated on Friday, but it's still unclear if he has enough support either. A possible solution might be in the works. Sources say there have been informal discussions between the two parties to create a bipartisan coalition, and those talks could continue this week if necessary. Without a speaker, the House is unable to take any action to help run the government. Yet another use for artificial intelligence. A young computer scientist at the University of Kentucky is using the technology to read 2 ancient scrolls that were burned in a volcanic eruption nearly 2,000 years ago. The papyrus scrolls from Mount Vesuvius are still rolled up and are so fragile that if anyone tried to unroll them, they would turn to dust, according to the BBC. So 3D X-ray images of the material was released back in March as part of a competition to see if anyone could decipher the ancient Greek writing. And the first one to succeed was 21-year-old Luke Ferrator, who won a $40,000 prize. And the first word he uncovered on the scrolls was purple. Coming up, which former president gets credit for introducing pasta to America? But first, the Pierces of Los Angeles, California want to say a big happy birthday to Grayson. Grayson, your family, especially your mom, Pop, Jasper, and Aya, and all of the furry beasts want you to know you dazzle them daily, and they can't wait to see what your future holds. The entire KidNuz team hopes you have a great day. Now, our KidNuz quiz. How many schools are run by the U.S. Defense Department? 50 in the U.S. and 100 overseas. Where is President Biden expected to travel tomorrow? Israel. How many votes are needed to elect a new Speaker of the House? 217. What was the first word found on ancient papyrus scrolls? Purple. In our KidNuz Kicker, today is National Pasta Day. The origins of the multi-shaped dough have long been debated, but the National Geographic says starting in the 13th century, there were increasing references to pasta dishes like macaroni and ravioli across Italy. It was then considered a dish just for the wealthy, being served at aristocratic banquets. And it was Thomas Jefferson who helped popularize the dish in the U.S. He discovered pasta while serving as the American ambassador to France, and he liked it so much he brought a pasta machine back with him and reportedly would serve macaroni and cheese to dinner guests at the White House. Before we go, we want to again thank the Pierce family of Los Angeles, California for sponsoring today's quiz. Give a big KidNuz shout out to Grayson for his birthday and say hello to all his friends and his teachers, Mr. Myers, Ms. Anders, and the rest of the amazing staff at Los Encinos School. And happy Tuesday to our other KidNuz classrooms, Mrs. Hayworth, who is also one of our fabulous teacher advisory ambassadors, and her Rockwell Rockets at Rockwell Elementary in North Carolina. In California, Mrs. Mitchell and her Eagles at Mitchell Community School in Canyon Country. And Ms. Coy, along with Sammy the Sea Lion at Malibu Elementary in Malibu. Thanks for listening. It really helps if you rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to check out our Noodler worksheet and other resources in the Teacher's Lounge section of our website, kidnuz.org. We hope you tune in for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.